And starting off, we're gonna do a mid fade. So when we do mid fades, what I do is I never go above, I would say, the temple. So I keep my mid fades at the bottom of this little round piece here of the lineup. So I start off with my tremors, and I just take this piece out. And what I do is I drop my fades right under the occipital, and that way I have room to start doing my sections. I'm just gonna clean this all out. As you can see, I drop under the occipital bone. So that way the haircut forms to his head, and I'll have more room to fade. You'll see that later. And I like to have, this was called a fade brush. This is just a type of brush. But if you got any type of boar bristle brush, make sure it's like a medium texture brush. And when you cutting hair like this, where it's nice and curly or a tight curl, this gets the hair out because sometimes this hair sticks in, and you can brush your fade down so you can see places where it might be dark or not. I'm just gonna go over and hit this again. Then I'm gonna come with my clipper with the lever open, and I'm gonna make my first guideline. And my guideline right now is gonna be about 1/4 inch, almost 1/2 inch, but not that much, more of a quarter. And then the more I come to the back, my section gets a tad bit bigger, but not as much, not as noticeable. Just so I can have more room to fade, because sometimes the back is harder to fade, because you get indents into the head, things like that. So I might need a little bit more room. I'll try to keep them, the sections mostly even. And as you can see how it's a difference between the dark hair and the light hair, and then where I use my trimmer. And then from this line here, I'm gonna close my guard with my no guard, and I'm gonna flick at the line to get the line out. And if you want to, you can use like a balder under here if they want like a ball fade. But on him, I'm just doing a trimmer fade, not making it like super bald. And you just flick at the line the same way. And make sure you constantly brushing. As you can see, the line disappeared, and then I'm gonna go halfway in with my clipper at the halfway point, and then I'm gonna flick at the line again, just to give it a little blend so that I can go to my next section. Then for those people who cut backwards, I know some people who cut the other way, you might get scared because there's a lot of hair here. So you can take a 2-guard and you can clear up some hair here. So you can still see your sections a little better. But I still like to work down to up, because that way I can see my sections and not get lost. But this is just for people who like to clear out the hair so they can see the sections better. And when I'm using my 2-guard, I'm going straight off the head with a flicking motion. So I try to make sure I'm going straight up. And that can go for every haircut. Even when you're about to clipper over comb, make sure you're flicking and going off the head, not around the top, unless they ask you for like an undercut or something. And as you can see, it's a little bit more better to see into, but I'm still gonna work bottom up. And I'm gonna come in with my half guard, and I'm gonna do the same thing. And I always work all the way around instead of just one side and then the back, and or just keep switching. I try to keep it consistent. So when I make my guideline, I'm gonna make like another 1/4 inch section with the lever open, and I'm gonna just slowly spin the chair so I keep that line consistent throughout the haircut. Sometimes you might see a line with the half guard, sometimes you might not. And sometimes you might not even have to use the half guard, but I just use it just in case so that I won't have to guess and come back and use it. It's not that much of a difference between the half and the one, but sometimes it makes a big difference when you do need it. So I just always use it. Then I go in and I brush it out. And I can see a couple dark spots through the hair. So then I go and I close my lever and I start flicking at the bottom of it. Just to start clearing up those dark spots and taking the line out if there is a line, which there are in certain spots. And with this technique, I can keep my haircut time down as much as possible. Because with this technique, I can't really get lost because I'm just following each step. And you can do this step, these steps for each client. at any time. Now I'm doing my one guard, and I'm gonna do the same thing I just did with each other guard. So I'm gonna brush it out, and I'm gonna make another section. And at this point, we heading up to our 2 and our 1.5. So it's gonna start blending out anyways. So you might not even have to grab another guard. It depends on the person's head shape or your fade. As you can see, this is how I get my fade so quick, because you can see how it's starting to already come into place without me having to do that much work. Now, I did it so fast, but I closed my lever and started hitting the bottom line, or just under my fade, because the line stops up here where it's dark at, so I know just not to go all the way up there with the lever closed. So I'm hitting everything down here, because everything under here is shorter than the one closed, so I'm just gonna flick at it anyways, just to hit the line or any hair that might be able to get caught with the one closed, and that way I know I'm clearing out that line. Then I'm gonna go in and brush. See the spots that's still dark. And his hair is really curly, so his hair curls up. So I'll be having to bring some hair down to see what will have to be blended. But once we get up to here, I'm gonna start freehanding, because I don't want to go and take clippers and get into his growth. So now I'm gonna do a 1.5, and I'm just gonna go straight off the head. I'm not going over his the round part of his head. I'm just going straight up. I don't even have to flick much, but this way I'm not taking a lot of hair off, but I'm still finishing the fade. And I see a couple spots, so I close my guard, and I'm going to just flick at the bottom of it, just to finish out the fade. Because we already hit it with a 2, so we know we don't have to go back in with the 2. And now I'm just flicking below the line or anything under here, because I know that is going to be lower than the half guard close. So it's okay to just flick under here just to clean it up. And throughout your cut, make sure you're looking in the mirror. I haven't much looked in the mirror because I'm trying to pay attention and talk through it. But use your mirror to see lines that you might not see. And it'll let you know where you need to go back in. So if you see a line down here, you would know that it would have to be your no guard or your trimmer where you can flick at the line. If you see a line right in the middle, you know it's going to be a 1. If you see a line up here, you know it's going to be a half guard. And that way you know how to get your lines out. And you don't have to guess which way or where it is or what guard you have to use. Which I see a lot of people who cut backwards kind of get lost because they don't know which guard they were at, or this way I won't get lost and I know. So down here I want to clean up some stuff, so I know I got to do a no guard. And right now I got the guard closed because I know it's at the bottom of the fade. I want to make it as best as possible. And now I got the guard open. And I'm not like flat against the head. I'm kind of using it like that so I won't cut as much hair. And this way, I'm not cutting a lot of hair off, and that blade's not flat against his head, but I'm just trying to knock out any bulk of hair. And I'm using behind the ear, I'm using the edge of the clipper. And this way, I'm not really cutting, but I'm taking out dark spots. And sometimes with curly hair or tight curls, you can even keep the guard open. Don't put it all the way against the head, but you can kind of go down and take out bulk too. This is kind of like thinning the hair. With like if you had thinning shears, this is like the same thing. So you're not really cutting hair, you're taking out dark spots. So you're not really gonna take a lot out or mess up the fade. So make sure you're doing it at the 1 down. Don't go too high. And that way you'll take out dark spots that might be there that you couldn't get out. Because it might be 3 or 4 hairs going in one spot or an indention in the head. And I know I'm down here, so I'm working with my no guard. Basically, you're done. I'm just refining the cut. So that's how quick it'll take. And once you get good at it, you can go faster than that and still do a good fade. But it's just me going in and refining, making sure my fade looks as best as possible. And for him, it's a little weird because his hair grows right here. He got a curl that goes up. So for here, I'm closing my guard and I'm following the head shape. So I'm going straight off the head to clean up any hair that might be hanging too much over. You won't have to do this on all cuts, just on his cut. And it's basically like clipper over comb if you were doing it on straight hair. But I'm just freehanding because it's easier. Then I'm gonna take my 2 guard and go off the head. It's not really cutting anything, but it's just to be safe. And now I got my 2 guard closed going off the head just to hit those spots. And here, I just want to even it out and take out some of the old dead hair. So I just go, I come across, or however you want to come. And my guard, or my no guard, is closed so that I can get the closest cut. More precise than having it open. And I'm just keeping it flat on top of the hair. I'm not pushing in, I'm just guiding over it. Some people might want some off, some people don't. We like to keep his fresh, not too much hair, so we just trim it up when you do get cut. Then in the front, I'm going straight off the hair, straight up in the air, just to clean out any hair that might be hanging over the front. And then with him, because he has a fro, his hair is curling up again. So I'm bringing some hair down so I can make a lineup. And this won't be for every person, but you get to learn a lot with him because his hair is different. And this is what you might run into with some people. And this way you won't push his lining back because his lining isn't really back here. But if you just went in, it would be. Because if his hair was flat, he can lay it down and his lining would be all the way down here where this smaller hair is. So I'm taking some hair and I'm bringing it down because this is where it would be naturally if he just had his hair cut all the way off. And you go in from the middle, you make your first guideline, and then you start moving over. And you follow that guideline. And when you're doing a lineup, you want it to look square from the front. From the side, you're not as much. It's still going to look square, but you want to play with geometry when it comes to lineups. So try not to line people up here and make it square, Because if you make it square here, but you look in the front, the square is going to be going down, so it's going to make it look like his lining is pushed back. So try to make it look square from the front. So when you line people up, stand in front of them. And I'm coming to the other side, and I'm going to follow that line and do the same thing. And if you need to, stand straight in front of them to make it best as possible. Only reason why I'm not is because we're filming, so I'm not like directly in front of him. But I also been doing it for a while, so I kind of can gauge it. But don't be afraid to, walk in front of him, check and see, and follow your line. And then it's certain grooves in this trimmer. This is a Slimline Pro, so it's a thumbprint here. I keep my thumb here, and I will sit my pointer finger on the person's forehead, and I kind of rock my clipper, and that way I can be far as possible, but still get a good line and be in front of them. So I'm kind of like rocking and moving, and that way I can be in front of him and not be all in his lap and see my lineup. And I come to this side, and I can do the same thing. And when you're lining up, just keep following your line. Don't try to go here and jump over here. It's just too hard. Just keep following and moving. And this part of the haircut is basically the hardest part when it comes to, texture, tight curly hair, because this is the part that they actually care about more than the fade, because this part will make you stay home from school, make you not want to go to work if it's messed up. So once you get the fade down packed and you're not worried about your fades, you can really get the fade done in maybe 5 to 7 minutes and spend most of your time worrying about the beard, worrying about the lineup, and stuff like that. And you don't have to worry much about anything else. So, and from there, you can just clean up everything that you see, and the fade and the cut is basically done. You can just refine from there. And the beard and everything else is about the same for anybody else too. Let me see. It's just a little darker. But other than that, I usually will go in with my straight razor, and it doesn't have to be any lubrication on, but I just go and I just clean up my lines. And that's all I will have to do to finish the cut. And I will do the same thing here. Just take your finger, make it tight, and just follow the line. And you just make it clean. And I'll follow this line down. And follow the jawline. And I will do the same thing on the other side. I will follow it down. Follow the jawline. Do the same here. Just follow, make it clean. Doesn't take much. Clean up your lines with your razor, pull the skin tight, clean up. You can clean up wherever you want to clean, get those extra hairs. Clean the hair off the lip. You can hold your head up for me. Then make sure you connecting underneath. head up. And that's basically the haircut. It's a medium fade. I threw in the beard to show you how to do a quick beard trim. And I showed you how to cut down up by using 1/4 inch sections. You can use 1/2 inch sections if you want. And you can use this technique with taper fades all the way up to high fades. And that way you can keep it simple and you can know your sections. And that's it.